we've got from Eli Sticks, who said, I think what hurts WoW is that there's no real side content to play through. True. ESO has justice system, housing, fashion, antiquities, etc. What does WoW have? Wish Archaeology had returned. That is an interesting one. We did a whole video last year in Archaeology. I think it was last summer.
So we did. Wow.
And I remember doing a whole video in Archaeology back, I think it was in the WoD days, perhaps. Because Archaeology could be some of the coolest shit, especially with the stories they want to tell right now.
Yeah.
I mean, Korthia basically has not actual archaeology in it, but it feels like there's a bit of an inspiration from archaeology, getting relics that have flavor text. But yeah, we need archaeology back. We need to get that, more things in the fashion scene. For World of Warcraft. Like, I think this is something where if you look at the WoW content creators, and that's a group of people who agree in many things, but also can disagree in many things, but I think we could all agree on there being more player expression stuff.
For sure.
So...
For sure.
I mean, like, look, give people different forms of clothing. Like, I thought it was kind of neat how, like, in FF, it's like there were suit-looking things, there was dress-looking things, there was... there was trousers, there was skirts, there was this, there was that, there was different, really quite different types of, it's like there was everything, there was so much. It was like, at one stage, my character, looked like, whatever you remember the gear set that it was, what my character looks like.
I can't remember. Oh, it's like
It basically, it looks like actual,
Yeah, the early mid-level, like, aiming set.
Yeah.
So you've got the kind of the like wood wheeler style that you're out and you're covered in brown leather and an eye patch kind of look. Or was that the other one?
No, it was the one where my character really looked quite fancily dressed, really.
Oh yes, I know what you're talking about.
And then I put on my archer armor. And I'm in this sort of puffy stripy jerkin. And I'm like, whoa, what am I in like an English longbowman now?
Yes.
from many hundreds of years ago. What? And that could be a little bit clashy, but I was also like, cool, this is a lot of ways to customize my character. So WoW needs a lot more of that. It needs more actual character customization. It needs, the player housing stuff, but as a vector, not for narrow view of gameplay, but for player expression and for new ways to reward people.
Yeah.
It needs, archaeology could be so much more cool. You could do player housing, and then you could add in, like RuneScape did, you could tie that into a woodcutting profession. Maybe you don't call it woodcutting, maybe you just call it survivalist or, survival skills. And it's like some sort of new secondary profession that gives you a lot of cool mastery out in the world that can tie, there's so many things there that make the world bit of World of Warcraft matter more. And I think that's like the side, and then the other part of the side content too. And this is why the anima system I think is kind of a little bit irredeemable, and the world quest system itself is pretty irredeemable because it is like world content is now one thing. World content, sometimes you'll get the B mount and things like that, but it's like back the way that it was. It was like the Argent tournament, unique thing, unique theme, go do it. The other Wrath of the Lich King reps, the MOP reps, etc. Right? These like little discrete bits of content that if all successful, you don't feel like you have to do. I know there have been issues with that in the past. Got to get Sons of Hotir to get your thing, your chance, etc. But you guys know what I mean, right? It's like, let's just not have world quests. Let's have things that are in the world to do, so that we can't just refer to doing non-endgame instance content as one monolithic thing that all feeds into one currency, because that's like your number one way to ruin a player's gameplay fantasy and then just turn it into a map clearing grind, which then kills the World of Warcraft being the World of Warcraft, right?
Yeah.
It makes it so much harder to do the storytelling and the world building that you want to do through those like reputations.
Yeah.
So there's so much here, and it's easy wins. Like if they just replicated what they did in MOP, but removed a few of the things that cause player concerns at the start, it would be almost an instant win.
Yeah, I mean, there's two messages in chat here that completely tell the story. First is Missile Inferno. Missy Inferno says, Blizzard think gameplay equals player power, nothing else. That's the problem. That's something you're highly aware of after talking about Garrisons years ago.
Yeah.
And how gameplay first. That means stuff to do, not player power. And that's not all this single.
Have a friggin' bladder explosion.
Yeah, go for it.
That's what I get for being the drinks ferryman.
Yeah, so that's one thing where it is the idea of they think gameplay is player power. Everything has to be this single one directional track, and everything needs to feed back into it. So you feel like you have to go over into it. You have to go into it. So you've got this end game content focused thing where you want to do your raids, you want to do M+, you want to get PvP. Anything outside of that feels so ostracized and so off to the side that the best way to get people to do those off to the side things is to jam them full of things that will help the power. It's the idea of Korthia, for example, where Korthia is really full of all these really cool and nice relics. They've got all this lore attached to them, stuff like that. All this this kind of cool bits of gameplay where you're teleporting to places for a couple minutes at a time. But all of that will be lost in the soup that is the Korthia grind that people are doing to get their gear upgraded and to get their sockets and get their conduit upgrades. That'll all be lost there. But what Virtual Souls said earlier, something they love about FF14 is the story is the main content. Everything else is considered side content, but is given the time to be good and be its own thing. And that's kind of the framing difference, where in FF, the pathway to being end game difficulty raider is basically just you finish the main story quest, then you get gears from doing end game stuff, and then you do the hard difficulty. Everything else is a complete aside, largely. There's so many things to do that's just all over the place. None of it kind of directs you there, but you don't have to. It's just content that you can do if you want, but it's all good and people talk about it really well. So it's like going off to do the Boshin Southern Front. I know that'll get me relics, but it's like a quest line. It's all this other stuff, and I feel like that's the kind of problem with World of Warcraft largely, is that everything is so intentionally jammed into being part of the gearing loop and part of the player power loop.
Of a loop.
Yeah, whereas it just needs to be this you hit endgame, and then there's just explosion of pathways that are all just if you want to just go and do one thing for 6 weeks, that's really takes forever, but it's really cool. Absolutely go for it. That's what it should be. If you want to just log into World of Warcraft, do your archaeology. That should be how the game is. It should be archaeology is its own big thing that doesn't lock you into doing other things. You shouldn't have to take a break from archaeology. Well, I mean, maybe if they want to tie it in, if you want to have to do an LFR for archaeology or something like that, because LFR is easy enough to not be a problem. But you go do this other content sometimes, but just archaeology week. You go archaeology all week because you want to get the cool thing from archaeology.
Have you just fixed WoW in the time it took for me to empty my bladder?
Yeah.
Good man yourself.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, yeah, it was it was mostly piggybacking off Virtual Souls talking about how FF14 works. Gotcha. And how you hit there is the main content is the story, and then it's just you finish the story, the corner of your screen says to be continued, and then you go do whatever the hell you want. Whatever the hell you want, and that's it. Go do whatever you want instead of all of the conversation around the game jamming you in this single loop.
That's it.
That's essentially it. It needs more side content, which is not side content, it's content. Stop calling it side content, because that's part of the framing problem.
And that actually is something that I don't think it shows an intentional disrespect, but to a casual player, it's and that is the thing they do. It must feel a little bit diminishing to hear it be referred to as side content. So I'll have to know it actually in our. Not that we have a style guide. We really should have a style guide
Probably
now that we're getting more people in the teams. So the stuff's kind of as we do it. But anyway, yeah.
Yeah, go Suramar. Go do your Suramar. Go do your blacksmithing quests, because they have their own quests in Legion. Go do those. Go experience that. Go do the class hall content stuff. Go do the Mage Tower. All that stuff was kind of there in Legion a little bit. And there you go. Just do that.
Yeah. Well.
I mean, just go make loads of content. Don't tie it into player power. That's all your game. The paycheck. I'll give you the address. Come on.
Bingo.
Yep.
One person's watched Samurai Cop, and I hope they got it.
Oh, nice.
Some form of peepo in chat. Enter key. Next super chat.
He's got it.
Oh, I've brain damaged myself. We've got from Bumblebee Tunes who said, do you think WoW would benefit from implementing other Warcraft games in it, like playing Hearthstone in an inn or a Warcraft 3 style command table gameplay? It's funny. Like a full game within the game, no, definitely not. But if you were to have just a fun little card game. You know,
Yeah.
if there was somewhere in WoW where you just go and play like Azerothian Twist and Blackjack, like that could be some bants. You know, if the mission table is, you know, a good bit more advanced. Like imagine if Battle for Azeroth's mission table actually had different boards that represented different, you know, bits of the battle.
Yeah.
You know, different like little zones and stuff, and actually had some little pieces. And, you know, even just like I don't know, imagine if it was like just a little, almost like, okay, there's 2 games in my mind. You know, a tower defense game, and then the opposite of a tower defense game. If you remember, that it was the first game from the studio that made Frostpunk. I remember Total Biscuit really liked it.
Yeah.
It was a tower defense game where you actually play the creeps. You know, if you like did a little thing like that as your, you know, your command table, that could be way more in there. But that would also be a lot of dev resources and quite hard to do. Not hard to do. It'd be easy to do, but just a bunch of resources. I mean, you could probably just put, you know, 2 people on it and just use existing assets or whatever. But I don't think it's where they could get the most benefit. I think if you're doing things like that, you know, less putting other Warcraft games in, I would say work out, like, you know, what are the little mini games and things that people in Azeroth do? You know, is there an Azerothian game with something like a football? You know, like I remember really enjoying the Hotball PvP mode in SWTOR. Or PvP map, because it was like, oh, not only is this a cool, inventive PvP, but, you know, sort of battleground, but it actually tells me something about this world. You know, so for me, I'm going to say less just putting other Warcraft products in it and more just like working out what you can do to make Azeroth feel like more of a lived-in world.
Expanding the world, which is, I mean, a lot of people in chat are bringing up the Gold Saucer in FF, which has all of like the triple triad, the Mahjong, and I think something else. But it's like the idea of that, but in WoW, where you just have more kind of, I don't want to say dumb shit, but like cool things that are kind of there for, you know, you don't feel forced to do them, but they help you in like a broader character progression way through a different currency you can buy cosmetic stuff with, that kind of thing, where, you know, you go in and not do it really hard like they kind of did with the current mission table, because the current mission table is like, it's really well put together and I quite like it, but I use Venture Plan and I have the little magic book tell me what to do, because it's actually literally the mechanics are too obfuscated for me a little bit, and I want it for Soul Ash, so I'm just clicking the button as fast as I can go and then go play the game.
That's the issue with
instead of it being this actual side content. But I genuinely think if that were literal side content in the way the Path of Ascension was, and they found a way to not have add-ons optimize it for you, but I guess by making it real time or something like that there, or whatever you could do to avoid add-ons solving the game for you, I actually think that would have been a great bit of side content.
Yeah,
because it's nuts. They can definitely do that. They could definitely do that.
So yeah, that's interesting.